Now, I understand you were working with Live Nation at times. You had front row to the greatest musical acts of all time. You must have had a ball doing that.
You know what? It was truly a job that I don't know if I've ever had one that's been more exciting and fun. I certainly was a sports photographer and did a lot of stuff. I worked for Associated Press, the LA Times, New York Post. And when Billy passed away, I kind of lost passion. I didn't want to pick up a camera, and which I regret to this day. And then later on, several years later, I had the opportunity. My brother-in-law worked for Paul McCartney and Jackson Browne, and he called me up one day and said, "Hey, I know you moved to the East Coast and you need to go over and check out this venue in Mansfield, Massachusetts. And they're having a special show tonight." It was Bonnie Raitt, Jackson Browne, Bruce Hornsby, and David Lindley. And he said, "Get whatever tickets you can." And we did. And once again, it was only 10 minutes away. And so we became members, our family. And so we would go to concerts. And then I approached the woman that was running the place to show her my work, and they hired me. And it was truly, it's not a great job that pays well, but the people and the things that you saw and the music that you could listen to, sometimes you didn't know whether you were supposed to laugh, giggle, take a picture, walk away. It was amazing. And I was lucky. I had great equipment. I had great mentors. The lighting was fabulous there on many occasions. So I was able to look like I knew what I was doing.
You've taken great pictures, photographs of these acts. So I picked out a couple people from your book, from your books, and we're going to play a little game here. But the first one, Kelly Hansen, who is not Lou Gramm, but he's carried the baton for Foreigner. And we have a little snippet of Long, Long Way From Home before we see that picture. Let's check it out. When you're front row with Kelly Hansen taking a picture of Foreigner, and there's them with a choir, I Want to Know What Love Is. What was that experience like?
Well, he's very much a people person, and I had great access. Right there, you see that his hair, he's got sweat and everything, but he had a head of hair. There you go. That was amazing, and he was all over the place, and he would play to your camera. And once again, like I said, lighting and access is everything in this and that particular type of photography business. And he was just wonderful. Of course, the music we all grew up with, an amazing talent.
Amazing talent. And for a number of years now, our nonprofit has collected used instruments for the band Foreigner. We've done it a couple of times, and they're returning to Long Island, their farewell tour, which we saw at the beginning of the show on August 2nd at Jones Beach Theater. We're collecting instruments, and we're asking people to help out because those instruments go to programs, nonprofit programs, families, and schools that are in desperate need of music, and we don't want to cancel those programs in these schools, so we're doing our part to support Foreigner and their efforts. Great picture. So I'm going to show you, you're going to put another song on. She was in the Super Bowl. Let's see her promo, listen to a song, and you guess the song. How's that, Jill?
Okay.
All right, let's check it out.
But you put on quite a show, really had me going, but now it's time to bow.
I don't have a buzzer, but you know the song?
Yes, Take a Bow.
Take a Bow, Rihanna. You photographed Rihanna. How was that night?
So amazing and so much talent. And she's sitting on the stage right there, and she was right in front of me. So emotion, so beautiful. Her voice was just pitch perfect. An amazing entertainer, and everybody just swayed their bodies and sang along with her. And she's just amazing, amazing talent like Michael Jackson.
She performed at the Super Bowl at halftime. Her performance outdid the Super Bowl game itself and people watching it around the world. So they say, very controversial, but it was a very great musical performance for about 20 minutes at halftime during this year's Super Bowl. Here's another guy, Willie Nelson. Let's put a little snippet song and see if you can guess that song.
I like you cause you like to stay up all night, and I like the way you do me when you do it just right. You threw a weekend party and it lasted all
What do you think, Jill?
That's Crazy Like Me, and there's Willie. Amazing. One thing that I will always remember, when Billy passed away and I had gone to Frankie Campbell's funeral home to obviously get things going, his bouquet of flowers was the first to arrive. I will always remember that. During my time with Billy, Willie would come in and out of town and perform in many places, and he would always call us, and we would go and we'd sit on stage with him. And that particular picture, though, was taken in Fort Pierce. Willie plays a lot of smaller venues now, obviously, and that's an amazing venue, much like the old movie theaters that we all grew up in. I mean, I know I'm dating myself, but that was taken there in that venue. And he is a great guy. His staff is fabulous. The crew is fabulous. And he really opened his doors to me that evening, and I will always be grateful.
All right, we got another one. Let's play that song. It's got a little Tom Petty action. Let's check it out. I know you know this song.
Of course, don't we all, right? Refugee, of course.
Yeah.
He would come to the venue on a yearly basis, and he and his band members loved the camera. And they would remember the people year after year. And God rest his soul, an amazing talent. But he just was made himself so accessible to us for us to do our jobs. Because, when you go in there as a photographer, if they don't know you, you get 3 songs, no flash, and you got to get the heck out of there. And if you follow the rules sometimes and they come back and they remember you and you're lucky enough to have a job the following year, they usually let you stay a little longer. And his band did that. Great group of guys.
Wow. And keep in mind, these are pictures, these are photographs, unbelievable photographs that you took, which is remarkable. We have one last person. He's an American Idol judge. He does a great performance in concert. He's one of those old school Motown kind of guys with the Commodores. Let's check out that song and see if you can guess it, Jill.
Stuck on you.
Well, if you can't get that one, he says the follow right there.
Right? Well, I certainly fell in love to that song, that's for sure. Just the evening that he came and where these pictures were taken, the lighting was amazing. He captivated the audience with his style, his grace, his voice. Once again, it bleeds of talent, and very kind and good to his audience. I was very lucky to be in the position I was in that night. And once again, the lighting was perfect.
Wow. These are amazing photographs. As a fan, we'd have to sneak out cameras in and chance that the security guard was going to take them away when you took that picture. And then you lose that footage. And then if you were lucky enough to take the picture, then you had to get it developed. There was no cropping. There was nothing like that. Whatever you got, you got. But you were there getting paid. First row, having the time of your life. Unbelievable job.
Well, thank you. But I did exactly what you did too. I can remember photographing Mick Jagger and taping my camera lens to my calf to get into Anaheim Stadium to photograph he and Bob Marley. So I have to tell you, I've been there, done it, and I do it all again.
Wow, there we go. Well, this is great. Ken Howard did a great show in the 70s. Like White Shadow, right?
Yes. Fabulous basketball show.
Yeah, let's check out the theme song before we bring Linda on. I love that show.
It was a good one, huh?
Yeah. Well, let's bring our special guest on, Linda Howard. Linda, you there?
I am here. Hi, guys. Nice to be on.
Hi, beautiful. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is going great. I'm learning all kinds of things about my friend of 40 years. This has been extremely interesting.
That's great. Linda, you should be honored. She called you beautiful. She didn't call me beautiful. But anyway, you are beautiful because you have such a brilliant career. And you guys know each other for 40 years, Jill?
It's got to be at least that, doesn't it, Linda?
I believe so. I believe so.
The other day we could go deep with this, right?
We could, yes. This is a whole nother series of shows.
Wow. So Linda, we start off right now with the White Shadow and your late husband Ken Howard. Talk about your relationship with Ken.
Well, it's funny. I never saw the White Shadow until after we were married, and we happened to be in Hawaii, and I could not sleep. Ken was sound asleep, so I grabbed the remote and I'm jumping around on some strange channels, and all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. Here's the White Shadow. And I remember they showed 2 or 3 episodes in a row, and I was just laughing and crying. And when he woke up the next morning, I said, I got it. I finally got it. I understand why the show was such a huge success. And Ken actually created that show. A lot of people didn't realize that. And he took it to Bruce Paltrow to produce because of his relationship that he had with Blythe Danner. They had done a number of shows together, and he liked Bruce an awful lot. And back in those days, 1978, 79, the stars did not produce. So he was comfortable in handing it off with an understanding that he actually created the show. He and a dear friend of his from college came up with the idea, David E. Marine from Amherst, and made it happen and got it on the air. And it was only on 3 years, but it syndicated quite well. And it was a critical darling. So
Linda, you've done so many things, and we'll get into your stunt work, but you do give back. And I want people to know about the Onyx Breeze website where you help people with their animals. And I just saw that Gabrielle is your national spokesperson. What a wonderful choice. Tell us about that.
Well, the Onyx and Breezy Foundation was established in 2004, actually started in 2005, and it was established by Wanda and Mark Sheff out of New York, 2 of the most amazing human beings that have ever blessed this earth. And they had 2 black Labradors, Onyx and Breezy. One died from natural causes and the other died of cancer. But at the time, they were fortunate enough to have the means. And while they were there, they watched a number of people come in that had treatable illnesses with their dogs or cats and couldn't afford to pay for it. So they were forced to euthanize their animals for lack of funds. And Wanda and Mark just looked at each other and thought that we can do something about this. We're in a situation where we can do this. They were both in the world of finance. Wanda chose to quit her job and make it her mission to begin this foundation named after their 2 beloved black labs, Onyx and Breezy. And we met them in 2007, and they asked if Ken would consider being their celebrity spokesperson, and he did just that until he passed away. And after that, Gabrielle Cateras, who was then vice president of the Screen Actors Guild, when she took the helm of president after Ken died, stepped into that position as well for a while. So she has been a big proponent of Onyx and Breezy. It's a wonderful organization. They created a plan and a grant funding campaign that you can apply with an application, and we will pay the vet directly for emergency surgery. If you need food, we will buy the food and get it to you. We know where every single penny goes. Everything else that needs to be is underwritten by Mark and Wanda Sheff. So every penny of every donation goes directly to an animal in need. We have bought bulletproof vests for our police canine units in the Northeast. We have bought cooling vests for our military canines in Afghanistan and provided them. It's truly one of the most amazing organizations that I've ever seen, because truly you just don't see organizations that are capable of putting every penny that you send in directly to an animal that needs it.
Well, it's just a wonderful thing that you're a part of. And how can people help? And where can they find you or find the organization?
Yes, thank you. They can go online to onyxandbreezy.org. And it will explain it all out on the website. how to donate. It'll give more background on exactly who and what we are. It gives many examples of where the money is spent, spay and neuter programs all across the United States we pay for. That's, of course, one of our biggest problems there is overpopulation, and beautiful, healthy, loving animals being killed for lack of space every day is just unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. So we have to do better. So, yes, so they can go to onyxandbreezy.org and get all the information they need.
Okay, well, thank you, Linda. And let's talk about what you did when you were when you met Ken. How did you become a stunt woman?
Well, I was doing stunts before I ever met Ken. I had been raised in the South, and my mother and parents were desperately trying to raise a Southern belle. And I had a brother who was 9 years older and very athletic and played football. And of course, I adored him, and I wanted to do everything that he did. So my mother was smart enough to put me into things that were socially acceptable at the time. So considering it, when I was a young child, back when the dinosaurs roamed, they didn't have, we couldn't play soccer. We couldn't play baseball. We couldn't play basketball. Girls weren't allowed. Our whole sport in the South were beauty pageants. I mean, as ridiculous as that sounds, that's just the honest to God truth. So she put me into dance classes and acrobatics and gymnastics. And so along the way, I managed to develop a really great foundation for a stunt career that was just a pipe dream. I never thought it would actually happen. And I was just very fortunate that when I moved to Texas in the early 80s, I was in the right place at the right time, managed to get in the back door, and then stayed there for about 5 years in Texas before I decided that if I were really going to pursue my career and take it further, I had to come to Los Angeles. So that's when I moved out here. And
then you became one, and then you were also vice president. Am I understanding that correctly?
I was lucky enough to join the Stuntwomen's Association of Motion Pictures, Inc. And yes, I did serve as their vice president for 2 years, and then I also served as their president. I felt very privileged to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And so tell me, what was your scariest stunt that you ever did?
Well, I can tell you the real answer. There are two real answers. One of them was working for Mickey Mantle. That was a stunt within itself sometimes, and that proved challenging on many levels. And then reality, I don't know. I never looked at them as terrifying or scary because we aren't daredevils. Stunt people are really control freaks because you have to get up and be able to do it again the next day. So there are so many precautions that are taken. There's more excitement than there is to be scared. I had opportunities to do some firework, which I really loved, and a lot of women don't get a chance to do that. And that was relatively easy for me because I could choreograph the steps while I was on fire, just like a dance routine. So that is where my background came into play and made it a bit easier for me. And from my gymnastics, I could tumble and I could do stair falls and I could do fight sequences, and it was all choreographed in my head, and I could make my body appear that it was out of control, but I would know where my body was at all times. So I was just really lucky, really lucky. It was a great background. As I was told by one of the most famous stuntmen, and then went on to be a director, Hal Needham, said gymnastics is the best background you could possibly have for stunt work.
Well,
so I was very fortunate.
I've seen many of the things that you've done, and I'm amazed to this day. And does one stunt stand out more than any other as you look back?
I think I had more fun. Well, I don't know, gosh. It's such a team effort. There's such a camaraderie amongst stunt people. So, gosh, we had so many fun times. But working on Star Trek V, I portrayed Catwoman, or Cat Lady, I guess it was called. It was a character where I did some stunts with William Shatner, and he was really wonderful to work with, absolutely a gem. And it required me to have 6 makeup artists just for my character and 6 hours of makeup. I had 2 a.m. makeup calls at Paramount Studios just to get ready for the day to shoot. So that was quite an experience.
Do you miss it?
I miss the camaraderie. I do. That was just, it's like being on a team or a sports team, I would imagine, having never had that, something like that. But I do miss the camaraderie of it. That was really terrific.
Okay, I've got another question for you. How did you meet Ken? We've got a few minutes left, and I'd love to hear the story.
Okay, well, I'll try to do it as succinctly as possible, but it does take a minute. So everybody, grab a glass of water. I moved down here in August of 1985, and I had this great attitude of, well, golly gosh darn, wow, I can do this, and it's going to be fine. Well, a year later, I had my mini nervous breakdown where I thought to myself, what on earth have I done? This is the craziest thing. I lost my mind, and it was 5:00 in the afternoon. It was hot. And I was crying so hard, and I call it the ugly Oprah crying. There was nothing pretty or mild about it. It was snot coming down the nose, just boo-hooing my brains out. And I almost ran into the back of somebody in 5:00 traffic on Sunset Boulevard, and I lived quite a ways away. And I thought, I'm going to have an accident on the way home. I need to stop. So I pulled off, and I went into the Bel Air Hotel, which is very reserved, very quiet, not a lot of tourists. And I just thought, I'll wait there until the traffic clears and I'll go home. And as I was walking through the front over the bridge, some tall gentleman that I did not recognize at all came and stopped right in front of me and looked down and said, "You are gorgeous." And I looked up, shocked, and said, "You're going to say that to me and you're leaving?" He said,
You didn't even say
I thought, well, my life's in the toilet now. Of course somebody's going to tell me this now. Sure. And he took the sunglasses off. He reached around to his back pocket, grabbed a handkerchief, cleaned his glasses off, and looked down and said, "I'm married. I have to go home." And I looked up at him and I thought, oh my God. I said to him, "Oh my gosh, of course you do. I completely understand." I said, "Well, thank you so much. I'm literally having the worst day of my life. And you have no idea how much your kind words meant to me." And he said, no, on the contrary. And he walked off and I walked in. And I thought to myself then, I had been out here for a year dealing with a lot of people. And I thought, there's one good one left out here. There's one good guy. I finally met someone that showed any integrity in this town. And I did not forget. That was August of 86. November of 1990, a friend of mine called, wanted to know where to stay. I said, "Stay at the Bel Air Hotel. You'll never stay anywhere else." Came in for dinner. We had dinner. We went into the bar, the piano bar afterwards, and we're sitting chatting because we were catching up. I hadn't seen them in a long time. And I looked through the other door, and there came that great big tall guy again. And he sat down at the end of the bar across the room with two gentlemen. They looked very friendly. He had 2 drinks and he left. So as my friend and I were leaving, I walked over and I said, "Excuse me, can you please tell me who your friend was who was just here?" And they said, "Oh, yes, his name is Ken Howard. Do you know him?" And I said, No. I said, I was having a horrible time a few years ago, and he was just very kind to me, and I never forgot him. And they said, "Well, he doesn't live here. He lives back on the East Coast somewhere. He's in Massachusetts or Connecticut or something." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Well, if you see him again, tell him I said thanks." And I started to walk off, and they said, "But wait, what's your name?" And I said, "It doesn't matter. He never knew my name to begin with." That was November of 1990. February of 91, I moved into my new building in Brentwood, 555 South Farrington. I'm there for a couple of weeks, and the office downstairs calls. They want me to come down and get me off their little list of responsibilities of anything that's not working correctly. I put them off. A girlfriend of mine, Maria Kelly, also a stunt woman, working in Palm Springs on a show called P.S. I Love You, being directed by Peter Hunt, who's doubling Connie Selica. She asked, "I know you love the desert. Come on out and hang with me." I said, "Any other time I would take you up on it. I so appreciate it. But thank you. I just moved into a new apartment and I've got to get organized. But thanks for thinking of me." About a week later, I'm hearing this pounding on top of me from the apartment above me. So the next day when I go down finally to the office to talk to them, I said, "Geez, guys," I said, "you've obviously let someone move in above me." I said, "Who moved in? Freaking Bigfoot?" And they said, "No, do you know who Ken Howard is, the actor?" And I just went white. I literally just went white. And they kept saying, "Are you all right?" And I said, No. And I said, "You mean he and his wife moved in above me. And they said, oh, no, we assure you, he's by himself. We rented his furniture. And so I recanted this story to them, and they were just gobsmacked. And they said, well, he's out of town. Would you like us to give him a message? And I said, no. Let me absorb this. Thank you. No. So several weeks later, I hear him once again on top of me. And I wrote a note, and I put it on his newspaper outside of his apartment. And about 1 o'clock that afternoon on April the 26th, which was a Thursday, he called and he said, hi. He said, I'm sorry. He said, this is Ken Howard. He said, I've been traveling. I've been on the telephone all morning, and I just went out to collect my newspaper, which I hadn't even realized I had one. And I found your lovely note. He said, have we met? And I had not really thought this part through very clearly. So I started stumbling, and I said, well, yeah, actually, I was having a really bad day about 5.5 years ago, and you were coming out of the Bel Air Hotel, and I was coming across the bridge, and he stopped me, and he said, wait, you're here in the building? And I said, I am directly beneath you. And he hung up the phone, and 2 minutes later knocked on my door, and I opened the door, and he looked at me, and he said, it's you. And he walked in the door, looked up, and he said, there is a God. If you're a good guy, there is a God. We got married 10 months later at the Bel Air Hotel. We were together for 26 years. And my girlfriend, Maria Kelly, that had called me from the desert, was doing stunt doubling on a show, P.S. I Love You. Ken was the guest star. Had I gone to visit her, I would have met him then, not knowing that he had rented the apartment 1 week to the day that I moved in after me. So we had two guardian angels that were working feverishly to put us together. Yeah. I've often said, I'd love to have an odds maker from Vegas, try to work that one out.
There we go. Huh? Oh, Linda, it's been such a pleasure to have you here tonight. And I hope you come back when my show starts and we can delve into a little more history.
Oh, well, we've got some history, so I'm sure we can find something to talk about.
And Linda, thank you very much for all. Linda,
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, Linda, thank you for all the great work you do. It's amazing what you do. What I love most about you is your thick Brooklyn, New York accent.
I've been trying to lose it for so long. I just can't get rid of it.
There we go. Linda, thank you so very much. I know you're in the West Coast, and I'm so happy that you and Jill have been friends for all these years. God bless.
Oh, thank you, honey.
I'm like a bad penny. Can't get rid of me. Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye,
wow. What a guest, Jill. What a guest.
I had a lot of fun with her. We traveled around and met a lot of people and did a lot of things and flew a lot of places together. I really enjoyed her company. And Ken was an amazing man. He would come to my farm to see the horses. He would call us when he was in town doing a play. Saw him in that fabulous Tip O'Neill play he did in Boston. A wonderful man, a very, very wonderful man.
Real quick, almost out of time. Jill, what's your show going to be all about?
Worth the price of admission. And music and people and baseball and a lot of laughs.
I think we're done. And you even filmed the band Berry. You took a picture of the band Berry, and we're ending with Done, their hit song.
Yes.
God bless, Jill. See you next week.
Thank you. All right, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.